It is a new day. Light begins to dawn. Rays of life, giving energy, break forth in glorious splendor. It is the dawning of a new day in consciousness. The light of illumination begins to break upon you from within. You are a spiritual being, a light being. You have been endowed with 12 cosmic powers, 12 gifts of light: faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, enthusiasm, release, life. Accept your 12 powers. Burst forth into the dawning of a new way of life. Birth the life of your dreams with your friends David Williamson, Doctor of Ministry, Gaylyn Williamson, Psychotherapist, and Robert Knapp, Medical Doctor. Value each day as you celebrate the power of life.
Life is our power to restore, heal, mend, procreate, regenerate, vitalize, and energize. The life power is always present within us. It doesn't grow old or wither or pass away. I celebrate life. We have the power of life. Life evolves in its many stages and expressions, even our conception and development in the womb. We go through all the stages of evolution of humanity, from simple cells to a complex human being. The forms of life continue to change for us. We don't have the same life expression or body when we were born as when we're 5 years old. The life power itself, though, is ageless, formless, forever unfolding. Our body is the expression of the life power. Life seems to come from our body, but it doesn't. We often speak of life as it comes or goes. Life doesn't begin with birth or end with death. We talk about a new life arriving and then a person's life as being over and then being buried. However, I believe that life is continuous, unfolding, renewing itself constantly, and this perspective is deeply held in the human race. The two most prominent festivals in Christianity are Christmas and Easter, and both symbolize rebirth and new life. They confirm the celebration of life as being of greatest spiritual importance to us. The power of life is celebrated again and again by culture after culture, ancient and modern, as pervasive and well known in Western culture as Easter eggs and the Christmas tree. So you and I are alive. Now, what does that mean? I believe that we are co-creators with God, and we are also procreators of manifest human life. We have a mysterious part in the soul's journey into a physical incarnation that develops, being assisted by the mating of a male sperm and a female egg in a woman's fallopian tube. The Hebrew tradition teaches that sex, conception, birth, a body of flesh and bone are all causes for celebration and spiritual wonderment. A holistic spirituality then embraces our spirit, soul, body as one energy. Like steam, liquid, and ice are all water, all the same, H2O, but in different forms of expression. Steam is not good and ice bad. Likewise, we are whole beings. Carnal is an old word for flesh, and we are incarnations. This is a spiritual expression that means appearing as flesh. And we are to revere and be thankful for the gift of God in and as our carnal expression. Brain, eyes, ears, lungs, heart, kidneys, hair, nerves, bones, all the many wonderful parts of our body temple. And no part of it is evil or sinful or lower. Our body is not all that we are, but it certainly is a miraculous expression of life. The body, sex, the natural world, the earth itself, not something to be overcome, subjugated, put down, or ignored. We are to have reverence for our body and all other bodies, including the body of our mother. earth.
In the scriptures in Romans 8:22, Paul puts forth the image of giving birth. From the beginning until now, the entire creation, as we know, has been groaning in one act of giving birth. And not only creation, but all of us who possess the first fruits of the Spirit. We too groan inwardly as we wait for our bodies to be set free, ready and able to deliver the first fruits of the Spirit. The fruits refer to the creative impulses of the universe that are pouring through you and pouring through me. Our part is to lovingly cooperate and give birth to the divine, creating music, raising a family, writing a book, creating a life work, whatever that fruits of the Spirit is for me and you. We are all pregnant with the divine. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, or if you're 10 years old or 100. All of us conceive and gestate and deliver the creations or fruits of the Spirit. It's our understanding of the motherhood of God that can help us all go full term and deliver with ease all that each of us is called to imagine and birth. That mothering aspect of the divine is nurturing, patient, in tune with the rhythm and stages of development. Your contribution is essential. There are things that you are to imagine and birth that can only come through you. What are some of those things? Dreams often show pregnancy or a baby, indicating a new life and fresh possibilities. Imagine that you are pregnant or that you have a newborn. What is it that this pregnancy or newborn represents as you giving birth? What is calling you? What quality would you like to bring into the world? Perhaps you are a peacemaker and you begin by creating peace in your home. Maybe you are an inventor and new ideas spring forth from within you. Perhaps you're wise and you help to teach and inspire people. Maybe you are kind and you give service with care and consideration. Or maybe you're a healer and your talents bring comfort and health to many. What life expressions or creative ideas are wanting to be expressed by you? These are your babies and you give them life. What can you do to help birth this baby today? What you can conceive and believe you can achieve.
Our power of life and regeneration expresses in our physical body by way of our male or female reproductive system. With these organs, man and woman may procreate, bringing forth a precious son or daughter. Let's always remember, however, that we are not so much a creator as we are a co-creator with the divine. For it is Spirit that breathes life into each child, who is first and foremost a child of God. When a man and woman have sexual intercourse, conception may occur in one of the fallopian tubes. One sperm that originated in the man's testes may fertilize one ovum or egg that has been released by the woman's ovary. This brings together a total of 46 chromosomes containing genes that now direct the growth of the embryo, which embeds itself into the lining of the uterus or womb. There it grows as a fetus for approximately 9 months until following labor, in a moment of great joy and wonder, the child is born. When we use our power of life and regeneration in a wise and loving and balanced way, then our reproductive system generally remains healthy. But when we have difficulties with our life power, then we may have corresponding problems with our regenerative organs. Let me give you an example. When I was about 10 years old, our next door neighbors, Tom and Joyce, a couple in their early 30s, dearly wanted to begin a family. Now, of course, I was too young to understand this, but I do vaguely remember my parents talking about it in a general way. As it turned out, Tom and Joyce tried to conceive for about 5 years, but they were unsuccessful. They went to numerous doctors for tests, which showed that Tom's sperm count was normal and Joyce had no apparent physical problems with her reproductive organs. Finally, they decided to adopt. The whole neighborhood was so excited when they brought home their beautiful new son. I can remember them bringing him over to our house. And then, about 6 months later, guess what happened? Joyce became pregnant. You probably know someone who has had a similar experience, since it is relatively common, even in these days of advanced medical technology. In these instances, when attempting to get pregnant, the woman may try too hard or feel anxious about becoming a mother, or may think of herself as being infertile. And then once she adopts and becomes a loving mother, she may relax and let go of her fears and apprehensions and false beliefs about herself. In response, her body's reproductive organs change in ways that make it possible for her to conceive. How marvelous, how mysterious, and yet how profoundly simple and direct is this interaction between our creative life force and our reproductive system. In large measure, how we think of and feel about ourselves is just how our body responds.
We often see our lives as beginning with birth and ending with death, as if these two events are bookends for our lives. But in the larger scheme of things, at a soul level, this is not necessarily so. Our soul is on an immortal journey, and life has no beginning and no end. You and I are always connected to life, and we're always connected to one another. We may say a person has died, but they remain alive inside of us, in our hearts, and in the immortal journey of their soul's life. A loving couple named Sadie and John showed me this beautiful thread of life and connectedness with one another. After 40 years of marriage and being together, working side by side, John had a massive stroke. David and I went to the hospital to see John, and there was his beautiful Sadie standing by his side, holding his hand and stroking his brow. He lay motionless in a deep coma. We all joined hands and held John's hand and prayed together. And as we prayed, a vivid image came into my mind of John standing in the middle of a tunnel. And I could see the look of concern on his face as he seemed to telepathically communicate with me that he could not come out of the tunnel, nor could he go through the tunnel. I didn't say anything to Sadie, but I felt like I needed to tell David that I had seen this and I was concerned. I was concerned that John was unable to return, and he was also unable to move on. And I wondered if I should say anything to Sadie. Well, we decided to wait and see what happened over the next few days. And we spoke daily to Sadie, and about a week later she called to tell us that John had died. And she said right before the hospital called, I was at home and I was doing some laundry, and I felt John's presence close by me. And I imagined that my wonderful husband John was standing right in front of me. And I put my hands on his shoulders and I said, "It's okay if you need to go, John. I'll be all right." And Sadie wept softly. And as I listened to Sadie, I too was filled with emotions. As I remembered the tunnel, I could almost see John walking through it, saying goodbye. Sadie said it wasn't more than an hour that the hospital called and said that I should come. Well, I knew right away that John had died. Beyond coma and unconsciousness, even beyond that passage that we call death, our lives and the power of life helps us eternally stay connected. There's a beautiful poem by James Dillett Freeman called The Traveler that speaks of this part of our journey. He puts on invisibility, dear Lord, I cannot see. But this I know, although the road ascends and passes from my sight, that there will be no night, that you will take him gently by the hand and lead him on along the road of life that never ends. And he will find it is not death, but dawn. I do not doubt that you are there as here, and you will hold him dear. Our life did not begin with birth, it is not of the earth, and this that we call death, it is no more than the opening and closing of a door. And in your house, how many rooms must be beyond this one where we rest momently? Dear Lord, I thank you for the faith that frees, the love that knows it cannot lose its own, the love that looking through the shadow sees that you and he and we are ever one.
The famous American transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "What I have seen of the Creator leads me to trust Him in the things I have not seen." We develop in our mother's womb for 9 months, and then we're born out into the opportunity for greater development and expression. The life experience in the womb ends, but it leads naturally to other possibilities. And this is the way the Creator, that is, the creative life process, works. In this lifetime, this is the expression. I am the expression, and I am actually born again and again as I pass through various developmental stages and experiences. I see that although I change dramatically in many ways, I am still me. When I graduate out of this body, then, I trust that there is further life expression, development, and work to do. I remember driving down a highway one time and seeing a sign that said, "Where will you spend eternity?" Well, where is eternity? When does the eternal life begin? Does it start at physical death? I believe that life is abundant and limitless. We are immortal beings living in the midst of eternal life right now. The question then for me is not, where will I spend eternity, but am I living fully in the eternal now? The important realization for me is that life is not measured in terms of length, but of quality. Eternal life refers to the quality, not the quantity of life. It isn't just how long we live, but how well. Oliver Wendell Holmes said, "To be 70 years young is sometimes more cheerful and hopeful than to be 40 years old." Samuel Ullman explains the life power well, as he also manages to refer to many of the other qualities that we've called our 12 powers. He says, "Youth is not a time of life, it is a state of mind. It is not a matter of rosy cheeks, red lips, and supple knees. It is a matter of the will, a quality of the imagination, a vigor of the emotions. It is the freshness of the deep springs of life. Youth means the predominance of courage over timidity, of adventure over the love of ease. This often exists in a man of 60 more than a boy of 20. Nobody grows old merely by a number of years. We grow old by deserting our ideals. Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up enthusiasm wrinkles the soul. Worry, doubt, self-distrust, fear, and despair, these bow the heart and turn the spirit back to dust. Whether 60 or 16, there is in every human being's heart the love of wonder, the sweet amazement at the stars and the star-like things, the undaunted challenge of events, the unfailing childlike appetite for what next, and the joy of the game of living. You are as young as your faith, as old as your doubt, as young as your self-confidence, as old as your fear, as young as your hope, as old as your despair. So we can be more fully alive. We can be alert and enthusiastic about life and living, no matter what our chronological age may be. As George Bernard Shaw wrote, "I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations."
As a psychotherapist and minister, I realize that the power of life, regeneration, and particularly our sexuality is one of the most potent of all our powers. We all face important decisions with how we use this power. We also have a great responsibility to help our children understand about healthy sexuality and to keep them safe in every way. This open dialogue is a critical key to changing the sexual abuse and misuse that still exists and is acted out inappropriately today. Unfortunately, sexual abuse and sexually transmitted diseases are a huge problem of epidemic proportions in our society. We cannot avoid talking about this power. To deny our sexuality is to deny a vital part of our life energy and flow. But how can we elevate our awareness of this great power in a vacuum of silence? We must be open to many appropriate ways to have caring conversations with our loved ones, children, and each other, so we all carry illumination rather than shame and embarrassment around the subject of sexuality. The most important thing to keep in mind as you explore your own sexual life and experiences is that the longing for union with another is normal and natural. Remember, that which we are ultimately longing for is union with the divine. I am sure as you keep this desire the foremost in your thoughts and prayers, you will be guided to a satisfying and loving relationship that is committed and long-term. Keeping sacredness around our sexuality immediately elevates it and the whole experience to a higher vibrational level. Clearly, sexuality is a joyful part of our existence and can be celebrated as a sacred act of love and shared union.
In the East, in teachings like yoga, Hinduism, and Buddhism, our power of life, our creative life force, is said to be located at the base of our spine, in the area near our regenerative chakra and organs. This power is called Kundalini, which means serpent power or the fire of life. This is our power of regeneration, renewal, recreation, and rebirth. As we grow and evolve, the Kundalini fire is said to rise up our spine and to open all of our other chakras or power centers until the creative life force reaches up and opens our crown chakra at the top of our head. This symbolic description of the rising Kundalini means that we are to use our creative life force in ways that uplift and inspire and heal ourselves and others. To do this, we must use all of our 12 powers, and these include the power of release that expresses through the sacral chakra, life that flows through the regenerative chakra, strength that correlates with the spine, order that expresses at the solar plexus center, love that flows through the heart chakra, will and power that externalize at the throat chakra, imagination and good judgment and enthusiasm that function through our third eye, understanding that expresses through our 5 senses, and finally, faith that is centered in the crown chakra. In other words, we are to use our life power in conjunction with all our other powers in order to create good, whether that good involves our sexual exchanges, our work, our artistic creations, our family, friends, or our environment. When we create good works, good projects, good services, and loving relationships, then we bring about regeneration, rehabilitation, reformation, and rebirth. Now, what happens when people use their creative life force in a misguided, unhealthy, selfish way, without the proper infusion of their other powers? Now they create disorder, disease, dysfunction, especially of their reproductive organs. So when it comes to our creative life force, we have the power to bring about regeneration or degeneration. We can have healthy, balanced, committed, loving sexual relations that are an integral and sacred part of our life. Or we can misuse or abuse our sexual creative energies. So let's be sure that we always think and act in ways that create regeneration. And once more, let's envision this for ourselves using the Eastern model of the rising Kundalini. The creative life force, the Kundalini fire of life, rises up from the base of our spine, from our sacral chakra, to our regenerative center, to our solar plexus, to our heart center, to our throat chakra, to our third eye, and finally to our crown chakra. Then the creative life force rises above the head and it showers down all around us and within us, filling our entire mind and soul and body with its power of regeneration. Now we are filled with light. Now we become a body of light. Now we birth our light body.
Life is good and getting even better. Today is the first day of the rest of my everlasting life. I give birth to creative endeavors and deliver with ease all that is mine to bring forth. I am a co-creator with the divine, with the ability to bring forth a beloved son or daughter. I know that life is an ongoing process, and I am always connected to those I love. I live fully and abundantly in the eternal now. God is the unending source of my life. I am open to dialogue about healthy sexuality. I respect my power of life. I create good thoughts and deeds that regenerate my mind, soul, and body. I birth the light within me.
You can reflect daily on the power of life and being alive and vibrantly connected to all life. People, even the planet, all of us are alive. The ancient Greeks saw the planet as a living organism. They called it Gaia. And the native peoples of many cultures have had a personal relationship with Mother Earth and saw her as a precious living being. Let's wake up to the life power more each day. My favorite Hebrew word is lahaim, to life.